Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 19 of BrewFOs. Today, my guest is Pavel Ibarra from Psicoactivo Podcast. And I've been watching his show for a while. I don't know how long, but he's one of my favorite people in the UAP space. He doesn't just talk about UAPs, he talks about consciousness, a lot of other things. But Pavel, cheers. Thank you for doing this. I'm gonna give you a
Thank
little
you.
ding.
Thank you for having me. Cheers.
Yeah.
I got my own right here, which is actually clamato and beer.
Oh, nice.
It's my favorite drink from here in Mexico. It's what we drink when we
Well,
do.
I already took a sip, but sorry. But
All right, cool. Cheers. Let's do this.
hell yeah, man. So let's get right off into it, dude. I mean, we've already
Yep.
met. We got to already share some beers together in person, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Got to meet your wife, your dog. Um, Very lovely. It was a cool conversation we got to have.
Yeah,
But
you guys are awesome. I like the part of the Masons that we talked about. Hopefully we can get into a little bit of that today, maybe.
yeah, I can tell you what I know. I mean, again, like I know we've already talked a little bit, but I'm not a Mason. I just have some friends that are, and they tell me some crazy shit, and I'm like, what is going on here? So um but for with you, like just so people that are watching that don't know you, you used to be a sports journalist, and then what got you into UAP, if you can tell everybody.
The David Fravor interview with Rogan, when I saw that, I had an ontological shock right there. As I was looking at it, I paused it for many different occasions, and I was like, "He just said that? What?" And if you do the equivalent, because if you watch the Top Gun movies, this guy was essentially the real life Tom Cruise, real life Maverick, and a guy with that trained eyesight and being one of the top pilots, I would say in the world, describing that was really shocking to me, and that's what got me into the topic like full on, because I had already had a couple of times in my life where I went down the rabbit hole and just like consumed UFO content and lore for about a week, and then it just moved away and I focused on other things. As you well said, I'm a sport journalist. I was for 15 years,
Wow.
and I was focused on that mostly. But when I started looking into this in 2019, even in the place where I worked, I asked permission to write about UFOs for a sports journal, and they allowed it to me. And that's what got me like fully involved in the topic, speaking to people like James Fox and Danny Sheehan and people known in the community. Fox actually shared a couple of my articles, and he shared a headline on the Joe Rogan experience. So that was
Oh,
pretty big for
wow.
me.
Wow. So that like sharing that on the Joe Rogan thing, that was it just like poof after that, or
Yeah, yeah, and
okay.
I think that's what got Kristian Harloff interested in working with me, because I sent him an email on December 2023, and because I realized that he was doing UFO content, and he's one of the film critics from the West Coast who I respect the most. I've been following his work for like 15 years as well, and since he was in the Schmoes Knows podcast with Mark Ellis, and I always followed all of that crew, the Collider crew, John Campia, John Schnepp, may he rest in peace, Harloff, Ellis, and in 2020, I think it was, when the J6 thing happened, I remember uh, reaching out to Mark Ellis because he was really emotional about the whole thing. And I told him some words of encouragement for the country, for your country. I
Mhm.
told him that everything was going to be okay. And I did say that it would be nice if we could collaborate at some point, because I always wanted to be also, actually, my first passion was film. But then I found journalism, and it all went downhill from there. uh, and I always looked up to those guys because they were film critics, and I was really, given that I was a journalist and I have a passion for film, I maybe was trying to do some work within the film critic world. And he was really nice about it, like, just a fan, you know. But then on 2023, when I sent that email to Kristian, he responded. We had a call, and he was like, "Yep, let's start working together next week." And
Whoa.
we did the very first episode. It's like currently sits on number 2 of the most watched, but it was number 1 for a while. And then I showed the text to Kristian, to Ellis, and he was like, "That's wild, man. You kind of manifested this shit." I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, not in the way that I probably wanted to, but it's much better, I think."
Yeah, so it's weird how life works out that way. Like you think
Yeah.
there's one path, but like, I mean, this path that's you're on right now is, I mean, like if you were just a film critic, like this is to me, I was just talking to Dan Cleary about this, but that it's the number one topic right now that I think really is, going to change the world and is changing the world. And that's the path you're on, man. And you have one of my favorite shows, and I know a lot of people love your show. You the way you hit on almost everything that's pop. The dude, you'll throw up like 3 videos in a day or more sometimes. I don't even know. I'm just like, whoa, dude, this is awesome. But the way you talk about stuff, how you're like, I mean, I know we're drinking right now, but you're sober, like your mind is sober, like the way you think about things, the way you are just straight up. I really appreciate what you bring to this topic.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a quite the journey because I when I first got into it, I remember speaking to Danny Sheehan the first time, and I was like, I feel really like a rookie when it comes to these topics. And I go back to that interview, and yeah, I was not even remotely informed as I am today. And the irony of that is that I feel like I know way less than what I knew when I started because of everything that opened up. And it's like, it's just too much. Um, but it's fun though. And it's topics that I really enjoy. There is a certain level of uncertainty when it comes to these topics because there's a lot of really dark stuff that you come across. And you go like, if that's true, then this other thing could be true. And then we will be talking about like even esoteric level stuff that we don't even begin to understand. And that is daunting when you think about it, but it still excites me to just try to find out the ins and outs of the all topics surrounding this because it's not just UFOs, as you well know.
Yeah. And can I just ask you, like, because some people watching this, when you say like one a darker aspect of this that could lead to other darker things, like what can you give like one example
Yeah.
that I know some I can give too, but I would just want to hear from you.
Something recent that we can talk about. The Dan Sherman book that was recently featured on the Jesse Michaels American Alchemy podcast about Project Preserve Destiny. I had a long conversation with my friend Craig Oliver from the Magenta 33 project about that. And this guy is one of those people that looks at the whole picture from the outside because he's investigating the Magenta crash. And it ties into a lot of even Nazi lore. And when we talked about Project Preserve Destiny, he gave me like a proper from the outside of the bubble perspective that I hadn't thought about, which is potentially if this program is real and they've been manipulating people's DNA for a while, he thinks, I can say it like this, he seems to think that the whole Epstein stuff might be tied to this.
Whoa.
And it's like, that's dark. I mean, and if you get into it and if you start talking about it publicly, you will inevitably fall into other topics that are even more sensitive, such as religion and the whole Zionist stuff with the Palestinians, which is horrible,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sensitive for a lot of people, and you get branded and accused of things that you're not really, but just the mere fact that you're talking about it, it puts you in danger of being regarded as somebody that you're not, like, anti this or anti that. And it's not the case. I mean, any sane person would have to say that what's happening in Palestine is horrible,
Mm-hmm.
and it should always be like, um uh it should always be called out. But we live in a very, very sensitive world right now, especially when it comes to information. And yeah, you got to be careful. That's just one example.
Yeah, no, that's I mean it's a good example. And I mean the first thing I thought about was religion and the specifically how you were just talking about, like, I guess not I mean I think you said that, but when you critique a certain thing and then people will get just upset or turned off about it. So like, but I've brought up the Roman Catholic Church a lot on this show, and just, I came from Christianity. I came from a not a Catholic background, but a Christian background, and you came from a Catholic background as well, right?
I did, yeah.
And did you grow up Catholic then, to like, and then leave, or
I
what
did
happened?
my first communion when I was like 8 or 9, and they forced me to read the Bible and all that stuff. But then as I grew up and as I started reading the pre-Socratic philosophers and the Socratics, and then Nietzsche, and then Sartre, and all of these people that are like way beyond any type of religious dogma, that's when I started realizing that everything that I knew or thought about religion was wrong. And to be fair, at the heart of almost every religion, or every religion, we could say, there is a positive aspect that helps a lot of people who are believers in said religion. And I would never presume to know how they feel about their faith, and I never want to do that. I respect everybody's faith, and if you want to believe in just one God or multiple, I don't care. I just always want to speak up against injustice that has been even uncovered in many cases, especially in places like the Catholic and Christian religions. I always want to speak up against that, because there seems to be an idea of how the world is that stems from the origin of those religions, that for the most part, it's just misinterpretation of things that happened.
Yeah.
If you think about it, the scriptures and everybody who got to write a book that is now part of the Bible, of the New Testament, some of the Old Testament too, is just their account of what happened. It's not really
Mhm.
what happened. And that's frustrating, because there's a lot of people that think that is law, and it's just not.
Yep. And there's books that didn't make it into
Yep.
what is we know as the Bible now. And some people are still, so I think some churches still include some of the missing books, but um, it's just so weird, like the councils, how it all kind of came to
Yeah.
be and all that stuff. If I remember right, is the magenta, you brought up the magenta crash,
Yeah.
wasn't that Italy? Was that the
Yes.
1933 one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
then that was the one that the Vatican was supposed to be involved, according to
Yes.
Grush.
Pope, I think it was Pius.
Okay.
I'm sorry for the barking.
Oh, I can't hear
Okay, cool.
it. My
Pope,
stomach's growling, and I don't think people can hear it, but it's
I think it was Pope Pius, the one who alerted the allies, quote unquote, that this was happening, that this was actually a thing, that both the Italians and the Germans
mhm.
had a hold of this craft, and he was the one who blew the whistle on them, apparently. That's what the information that, for example, Craig Oliver and Michael Armentor from the Magenta Project have been talking about and investigating thoroughly. And there's Alan Dulles, who was involved in that. There is Jesus James Angleton, who was also involved in that. And it gets into like before the CIA, the OSS, and then the CIA was formed, and it gets into a really convoluted mess. But I think that there's something to that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the Catholic Church definitely seems like they know what was going on back then, and who knows what they know about the entire history of this,
Mm-hmm.
because they have those archives at the Vatican. They do have an astronomy department. That,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why would the Vatican have an astronomy department? It makes sense to me, but if you're just a casual person when it comes to religion and these topics, and you hear that the Vatican has an astronomy department, you would go like, really? You know,
Yeah.
it's not normal. It's like, why would they?
And they have
Because
a
they know.
telescope, right?
Yeah, they have a
In Arizona or something. They have a
huge
big
telescope.
telescope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people are like, what?
Yeah.
What they got? But
Another aspect that I think it's interesting to note is that when Diana Pasolka went to the Vatican, she's talked about this a little bit, that whenever she goes there, people always think that the Swiss guard are the ones that are like the dangerous ones,
oh
but
yeah.
they're part of it. But there's another like more secretive sort of paramilitary um group that is always there at the Vatican, and they have like the highest technology you can think of, that we know of, and they seem like really well trained guys that you don't want to mess with. And she was
Yeah.
like, when I saw those guys, I was like, okay, there's something going on here. It's not just the Swiss guard, you know?
Yeah. When she was on Joe Rogan, I think they were talking about that and saying
Yeah,
like once you pass in past like the walls or whatever and you get inside, there's dudes with like machine guns like dressed all in black, like holding it like
yes,
crazy, and they're just watching every move you do. And then the other thing is they said, which was kind of crazy to me, was they saw some or there were rooms or something where there's just stuff piled in there. Like they haven't even like it doesn't even look like it's been sorted yet, but there's like
yeah,
paintings and like artifacts and things, and it's just like, whoa, dude, that's
yeah,
wild. It's like a
it's a
hoarding
lot.
situation or something.
Yeah.
But I want to know, man. I want to know what's in those
Me
53
too, man.
miles of,
I grew up reading Dan Brown, so I definitely want to know.
yeah, dude. And I wonder how much, I mean, I wonder how much of that Dan Brown stuff too, like just with consciousness, like us being receivers of whatever the hell's going on. Like it seems like even now with stuff in our I guess pop culture like Stranger Things and it like Welcome to Derry and stuff. There's like remote viewing. There's you know the psi abilities. There's certain things like that. And then we got the telepathy tapes going on, which it's like it just seems like all of this stuff that you thought was make believe when you were a kid is like coming to you know
Yeah. And something that
reality.
I would like for people to understand about that is that whenever you hear somebody talking about telepathy or psi abilities, they're not talking about like parlor tricks or like the stuff that you see in the movies. Uh, to me, and because I have a little bit of experience in it, it's a whole biological process that needs practice and need to get better at. And if you don't practice, you forget it. It's the same with any discipline, I would say, that the practice makes perfect. But
Hmm.
if you don't do it, you just don't have the ability. But anybody can hone these types of skills. But yeah, it is an entire process that deals with both biology and ritual. And if you the ones who combine them, Pasolka talks about Plato in her book, and Tim Taylor, who apparently does have his own protocols to follow, and I think it has to do with that. And it's a whole like you have to be fit, you have to eat a certain diet, you have to learn how to meditate, you have to. It's a lot, you know.
This is no.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
like no alcohol, I think you said, or caffeine,
yeah. That well,
Yeah.
that's his prerogative, you know, because historically, and if we go back to this, if you go to this flow state concept, historically, people like, for example, Stephen King, um, what's his face? Charles Bukowski, these writers that seem to be having a lot of demons inside their head. The most inspired they got was when they were under some kind of influence of something. I would add Hunter S. Thompson to that list too,
Mhm.
and many more. Like, so when Tim Taylor says like, "Oh no, alcohol is a big no-no," or Friedrich Nietzsche also said that it's a big no-no. It's like, you don't know. That's your process.
Mhm.
Other geniuses in history have used this to help, and it has helped. It has very specific effects in their creativity. So we would have to go on a case by case basis in order to make that assessment.
And for you, saying all that, what gets you into flow state? Like like what's the best thing for you? I mean, you don't have to share. That's fine, but just
For me, it's coffee in the morning, good
yeah,
sleep.
yeah.
Good sleep is essential for me to be on a top creative kind of state of mind. If I'm going to the gym regularly, that helps out as well. I feel more, yeah, creative. That's the word. And when it comes to substances, I would say that microdosing helped me in the past. Any type of psychedelic, microdosed, I think it does help me at least. I know that some people don't think the same way, but that's what has worked for me in the past. And I obviously, like in 2014, I had a near death experience with substances and I nearly died. But since then, a lot has changed. My whole life changed in many ways for the positive, and I no longer feel like I'm bound to substances as I used to be. I used to be addicted to them, and now it's a different story.
Wow.
Because I did go through a 10-year detoxing sort of journey.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was, I had to make sure that my life wasn't in a good place in order to like start dabbling a little bit more again. And when I found out that it wasn't controlling me anymore, that's when I felt a little bit more confident. And now I don't get scared that easily with that.
Wow, dude. I actually that was one of my questions. I have a little notebook that I write stuff down, but I've heard you mention your NDE experience, your
Yeah,
near death experience, but I haven't heard the story. Is there any, can you just share a little bit about it if
sure,
you want? Yeah.
sure. Um, this happened in December 4th, 2014. I was just out of a bender of like 3 or 4 days. Um, I had been doing all types of substances for the past decade. It wasn't just psychedelics, I was doing a lot more things. And I was spiraling out of control dramatically at this point. Um, I needed something that traumatic in order to like just stop and assess what I was doing with my life at the time. Unfortunately, it came through an OD of a combination of things. And I had a pre mild heart attack when it happened. My mother was there. Fortunately, she saved my life.
Wow.
And the really rough part about it is that I never lost consciousness. So when I was having the attacks, hurt my chest and I was losing my eyesight. It was going all
Oh,
blank, and I was really, really scared. And that went on for like close to 13 hours of nonstop, just different
oh my
types of
God.
attacks and episodes. And my mom was there the entire time with my brother, and they were all scared that I was going to die. She did a number of different, I would call it exercises of breathing and emoting and sort of neurolinguistics that she used to do back in the day, and she used that to just keep me conscious, and she managed to do it. And later on, when I started doing the podcast, I spoke to Nick Cook, the author of The Hunter Zero Point, because I heard him speak about fear death experiences, which was a new concept to me. I didn't know that that was a thing. When I heard him talking about it, I asked him when we did the first interview, and he was like, "Yeah, that's something that is consistent. It has very similar effects to the near-death experience, and the experience people have when they lose consciousness on the near-death experience. That is something that the ones who go through the fear-death experience go through when they go to sleep after the experience." And yeah, I did uh, speak to something. I don't know what it was. Just like an entity that I told him that if I could get out of this one, I would try to change my life for the better. I don't know what I spoke to. Um, I couldn't tell you. As I told you, I'm an agnostic guy. I'm no longer religious, so I don't know. I don't ascribe the God uh, label to whatever I spoke to, because I don't know if that exists.
What did you feel when you were speaking to this thing? Like, was it like love or compassion, or was it scary, or was it like how
I
what
was
was it feel?
scared out of my mind, man.
Okay.
And when the attacks passed, I was relieved. I just felt relief. And when I went to sleep, my mother was there in the room when I was sleeping, and when I woke up, she was angry at me. She was like, "You motherfucker." I'm like, "What? You were laughing in your sleep and you made us go through all this shit." She was angry. I was like, "I'm sorry. I don't know what I was dreaming." But yeah, in the dream, I was just speaking to something, asking it to let me stay here for a little while longer.
So was it I know you were scared, so were you scared of it or were you just scared of the situation?
I was scared of just lights out, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that is something that scares anybody.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that dread feeling of no longer being alive at a certain point and thinking that maybe there's nothing after, that terrifies me. I know it shouldn't, because I already had enough ego deaths, that I know better, but it still does, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where are you right now? Are you just still like you said you're agnostic, but are you like um and sorry, did I cut you off from more of the story or
No, 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 no,
okay.
no.
And by the way, even though I'm agnostic as well and I don't know if there's a God or whatever, cheers to your mom and God bless your mom for for
Oh
you
yeah,
being
dude.
here.
She's a hero.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
dude.
I mean you're doing so much for people right now, I think, man, and your mom is because of that too, you know.
I did make a promise that if I didn't die back then, I was gonna try and do something with my life. So I'm just honoring that, you know.
Dude, you're fucking doing it, man. Let me tell you.
I'm
Um,
trying.
I yeah, dude. Man, I there's so much I could talk to you about, dude. This is cool. But I was gonna ask you too, like speaking of like people, you know, you doing stuff for people and everything. You just went and saw the Age of Disclosure,
Yeah.
and yeah, and that was kind of cool. You went to the premiere, and that was kind of a cool experience for you because in like real life, you're seeing how you affect people you don't know, and then
Yeah.
you're seeing these people come up to you and be like, "Pavel, like your show's rad, and like, can we get a picture with you and stuff?" And like, how did did that just ground you more or what?
Well, it's something that I'm not used to at all. I don't think I'll ever get used to it. I feel very humbled by the reaction that people are having. But it becomes difficult when you get into this type of space to not um heed the ego when it's, and it's always like a siren sort of chanting, you know, like there's always something that really attracts you out of that stuff, that fame and tension, that I've seen it happen over and over again, especially in the UFO community, that people can't handle that type of attention at all. Like most people really can't. and this is something that I keep going back to from Terence McKenna, who said that we needed to always find, uh, at least once in our life, that ego death that will ground us when all of that stuff is happening. And I couldn't agree more. I think everybody needs a proper humbling, before even considering getting into something that will make them famous in any way.
Yeah, dude, and I mean, we're not like promoting psychedelics, but I mean, kind of am, but kind of not. But I know like Johns Hopkins University did a crazy study with like a bunch of people, and it was like 80% of them said
Yeah,
like doing, I think they're doing a hero's dose, which
yeah.
is what is that? Is that like, I forgot how many
Over
milligrams?
200 micrograms of,
Okay.
yeah,
They had like all of them says like life changing. I'm not all of them. All of the 80% said that they had like life changing stuff that just doing it that one time like profoundly impacted and changed their life forever.
yeah.
And when me and you were hanging out in person, I was telling you I was this book, The Immortality Key by Brian Marescu. He goes back through like thousands of years of like kind of like ancient Greek and then up to the Roman Catholic Church, and just talking about how like basically everyone was just taking psychedelics up until then, and it was like that was how you meet God, was like, and that's where like the Eucharist kind of like came from, was like they were like drinking just this little thing to make them like
Yeah.
commune with other beings or like go to the other world or see their dead loved ones or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And
And think about the bacchanals that were going on during the Greeks. Well, those they took ergot, which is essentially LSD. And think about the burning bush as well. What
yeah,
happened there? Like,
yeah,
did Moses get high and that's what he experienced? And that's why he came back with a comprehensive rule of how to live life honorably. That's
yeah,
how I see it. Like, people wanted to slap the whole religious aspect to the commandments, but it's just a guide of how to be a better person, in my opinion, and it
yeah,
came
dude.
from that.
I've brought that up actually to some Christians that I know, and you know, they kind of laugh, but I'm like, I'm serious. Like it says like he was talking to a burning bush. Like, you know, maybe, he's smoking some part of a bush, or like,
Yeah,
something's going on there, and he was seeing something or hearing something. And um I mean, there's so many questions with that stuff.
yeah,
But uh the age of disclosure, though, can we go back to that?
yeah.
Where are you at with that right now? Like, I know it's such a big like it's like number one on Amazon Prime or something, like for
Yes.
streaming, and you saw it in person with people. I guess just let's touch on that. I bought it and on Amazon, and we watched it with my mother-in-law. So
What was that like for your mother-in-law?
she thought it was cool. She was just like, "Wow, what's next? Like, what's like this is wild, like what's next?" And just wondering what's going to happen. She kind of
Yeah,
hears everything from me, like me and Laura will,
yeah.
keep her updated. So
Well, where I am with the film is that there are many glaring inconsistencies that are going to be kind of hard to ignore when it comes to the film. It goes from having people like James Clapper or Brennan as part of the film, and all of the things that they did that are not about UFOs.
hmm
There's already a lot of people complaining about that stuff, and I think it's bad optics for the film.
hmm
I think that the stuff about ATIP and OSAP, they like went back to an already existing debate of which of those programs is real and which is not.
hmm
That is also convoluted. I think that overall, the effect that the film is having is positive because the idea is to get the word out that this shit is real.
yeah,
And regardless of the many inconsistencies that are many, I think that having it at number one on Amazon and a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes from the
oh
audience
wow,
score, that's big. that's already like people are paying attention, and you can already expect a bunch of people from, for example, the content creation world, other journalists that are like feeling less stigmatized when they talk about this, that are gonna start coming out, talking about their experiences. Um, we're gonna have a wave of people that are gonna get on board. That's the effect that they wanted, and I think they're gonna get it. Now, after the film, I think that that was the main goal of the film, but there was also a plan in place for after the film. And I've been talking about this on my channel, that they have a plan set in motion of people like David Grush, Jay Stratton, Dan Farrar himself. Joe Rogan said that he was going to try and do something about it. Recently, Walter Kern, the author, he already made statements as well that they think, and I think they're working towards that by making these statements, that President Donald Trump is going to disclose. And we already know the potential reactions that we're going to get from that because of how divided politics is these days. But it's still a big deal, a sitting president going on a podium and saying we're not alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the net, I still consider it a net positive despite the issues, but I think that the issues need to be discussed as well.
Yeah, dude, I agree with you. And the Trump thing has been, yeah, that's really going around right now, especially with the
Yeah.
Grush Brett Baer thing. That you were the first one to, I think, bring it up, that I heard that Brett Baer uh,
Yeah.
interviewed him, and then they had to stop it because of the, what was it, the day after was the Charlie Kirk thing? Or
Yes.
that, yeah, okay.
I still don't know if that was the reason why they didn't do it, but from let me give you an example. On that day, that the Charlie Kirk assassination, I was supposed to do a space with attorney um, McDowell about the Nazca tridactyls, and we canceled it because of that. And I mean, anybody who had anything going on that day, I would think that they canceled it or postponed it because of what happened. It just seemed to, um, it just didn't seem smart to just like
Yeah,
go about with your day after somebody was assassinated
if
like
that's
that,
it.
such a public fashion.
Yeah.
And I would think that Brett probably thought the same way and decided to just move it for a future occasion. And after a little bit of time, they probably decided to drop it on the day of age of disclosure just to overlap both aspects. But I don't know if you realized or if you noticed, Dave Grush has never mentioned the movie at all.
Mm.
Isn't
Hmm.
that weird?
Yeah, no, that totally is weird.
Yeah,
Do you have any insight on into
a little
that?
bit. I think Dave feels the same way that, for example, I do with the film,
Okay.
with the inconsistencies. I think that, for example, people like Matthew Brown could probably feel the same way because Matthew feels like a one of us, you know, like
Hmm.
um, I was recently in a stream on his channel with him, and it did give me that impression that he made his choice, as he said, he picked his side, which is the people, not the elites. And there's very clearly a division between both going on right now. And we can also extrapolate it to UFOs. That like there's elitist people in UFO world that don't want to share information, that don't want to tell the vast majority of people what's going on. They want to keep it that way. And there's people who believe in free information like us, who want for everybody to know what's going on and are doing their best to make it happen. And I think that those guys fall in the people's category. David Grush, Matthew Brown, Dylan Borland. I would put Corbell and Knapp on that category as well. Um, Despite all the criticism they get, I still respect the hell out of them because of what they're doing right now, and for the very strong positions they take when it comes to that. When they see something that feels off, they never stay silent, and I will always applaud that from people like
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, man, they've done so much, and I mean for this, George and Jeremy, especially George, just doing it for so long, and that's why
Yeah,
Jeremy is always like my mentor, like he always shouts him out. But the Matthew Brown, like I got to watch you do that live on a Halloween night when he was like painting all the figures and stuff. That was that was fun. But that talking about that, Matthew Brown was like, what do you say? He said, because a lot of people are saying disclosure is dead, but he said deep state disclosure is dead, but
yeah,
citizen led disclosure is that's going to happen,
ongoing.
and all the elites can fuck off to their bunkers or whatever.
Yeah.
And you were like, that's the clip right there.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was
I
cool.
wasn't expecting that because when we spoke, there's some people that think that we pre-arranged questions or something like that. The only thing I told him that I was going to ask him about was how do you feel about the movement right now?
Yeah,
That was it. All
yeah,
the other questions I asked were just in the moment as I felt them. And he was okay with that. I did know um, beforehand that I couldn't ask him about classified stuff or potentially classified stuff that he can't talk about.
yeah.
So I wasn't planning on that. I just wanted him to give us a feel of what the movement is currently at. And I think it came across well, I think.
I have a question for you about Matthew Brown too. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of the whistleblowers you can look up like what they did, who they were, like some of their credentials. With Matthew Brown, do we know like where he worked or like
Yeah,
who he was
he's part
exactly?
of I know that he's part of intelligence, but he's not part of the Air Force. He's
Okay.
part of but because he has a lot of acquaintances in the defense the Office of National Intelligence.
Okay.
So that's where he comes from essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. And yeah, I mean, hearing, I mean, I'll put a link to it. I mean, a lot of stuff me and Pavel are talking about. It'll be link in episode notes, everybody. But when he talked on weaponized, it was the two-parter, just like Dylan Borland. And
Yeah.
was it two-parter or three? Might have been
For Matthew it was 3.
three. Okay,
For Dylan it was 2.
it was two. Okay,
Yeah.
uh, but some of the stuff Matthew was saying, you know, it's uh, it's kind of wild because talking about people in charge with like they've had advanced technology that can like basically probably give us like free energy and like certain things, and like they're just holding on to it, and it just when the world could be a different place,
Yeah.
um and if that's true, that can make anybody angry or make anyone want to make a movement to have a revolution or something, but a
Yeah.
lot of people I think will hear that and just be like, where's the proof, show me the. And
Yeah.
it's good to be that way, but also it just seems likely. It just really, to me, just seems likely that.
Yeah, and we're seeing a really interesting phenomenon around the world with governments. It's happening here in my country. It happened in Nepal recently,
Oh
where
yeah,
there's like massive revolutions taking place because people are starting to realize that the government doesn't have their best interest at heart,
yeah,
and especially this young generation of um, just like the Z generation they call them.
mm-hmm,
Um, these kids are tired because just to give you an example, here in my country, and this has nothing to do with UFOs, but I think it's related because of the government abuse of people. Um, Here in Mexico, that we have a huge cartel issue going on,
mm-hmm.
and here in my town in Tijuana, almost daily, there's kids that show up um, unalived and like that these cartels recruited them and they knew what they were getting themselves into, but they really didn't have a choice because of their upbringing and where they're from. And this is an issue that is like national, and that's just specific to Mexico, to my country. But when it comes to that, it's also happening in places like Colombia, Peru, and it's uncontrolled. And when it comes to other countries, it's kind of the same thing. Like there's the kids are tired of being abused and used and by the people with power. And
Mm-hmm.
in the US, I know that you guys have a lot of more propaganda going on that makes you not pay attention to what you should pay attention to, probably. I'm not saying but
Oh yeah, yeah,
the bulk of the population that is not aware,
yeah.
doesn't have like this awareness. But I still have hope for people to wake up a little bit faster, because we seem to be running against a clock, especially with the tensions as high as they are. And I think that um, stuff like this keeps coming out, and not just about this, about pretty much any topic you can think of. There's like new stuff coming out and really shocking stuff coming out that I think it's waking people up.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, it's not peaceful. It almost never is. No revolution is ever peaceful, um and you can get as new agey as you want. You can say that, yeah, it's going to be a consciousness revolution and all that, but historically, when those revolutions happen, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens that comes along with it. And I think that could be the case as well for places like your country or mine as well. We're neighbors, so
Yeah, man. I uh it's almost like the peasants are all in this like all of us are, you know, in this house and like the rich elite are outside and they light it on fire and we're still in the house and we're like arguing while the house is burning down. And it's
yeah,
like, dude, those guys lit it on fire. You know, like it wasn't us. Like we're all together. And it's so weird. I think most people too in the US and in Mexico and everywhere, I don't think I think none of us really want to fight each other. Like I think all of us really just, we just want to chill, we want to be taken care of, we want to take care of each other. Um, so when it's pushed on you in news or when it's pushed on you in media, like you were saying here, the propaganda is like gnarly, and it totally is, dude. It's like everyone wants you to pick a team.
yeah.
And I mean, I know you're a sports journalist, but like I'm not even really into sports because of teams. But like I know people get even just with sports, like I've seen soccer dudes like just like wanting to kill each other just because of a team, and it's like, dude, that's just people playing a game, like why you want
Yeah,
to kill each other, but it's like everyone's trying to like once you team people up on each other, like Republican, Democrat, or whatever it
left
is.
versus right and all that
Y-
shit.
Yeah, it's like, and I think it almost feels like too living here that for the last, I would even say like decade, it's like that they've been trying to force us into a civil war, but it just hasn't been working because I think there's too much love, dude. And some bad shit has happened, like the January 6th thing, what happened, what we just mentioned to Charlie Kirk, which is
Yeah,
awful. Like,
yeah,
I disagree with Charlie Kirk. I didn't agree with a lot of things Charlie Kirk said or talked about, but I used to watch the guy a lot because I know my family watched him. I know a lot of my friends watched him. And I'd watch a lot of his debates and his discussions, and I just wanted to hear what he had to say. And sometimes I'd be like, oh, okay, like that's what they think, and that
yeah,
helps me in my conversation with somebody, but it doesn't make me want to like hurt anybody or whatever. And like violence is always, shitty no matter what. But like, and what happened to him is awful. But it's just like, it's crazy that, yeah, where am I going with this? It's just crazy that we have to be pitted against each other when I think most of us just want to love and to be taken care of.
yeah,
So,
yeah, and have fun. That's what we
yeah.
want, really.
Let's have fun, dude, and figure out and find out the truth. That's what I want. I just want the truth, man. I want, and okay, Dan brings up amnesty a lot,
Yeah,
and I know he's brought it up to you, but like, where are you at right now with it? And he asked me where I'm at, and I just want to know where you're at if they talked
yeah.
about UAP amnesty.
To me, and I know that Dan wants full amnesty for everybody. He feels that's the only way we get to know what's going on, or at least most of what's going on. I disagree with Dan. about that, because even though it kind of feels like some of the people involved in that film are part of the people that seek amnesty, I would give amnesty, for example, to Dr. Hal Puthoff, or if Dr. Gary Nolan was involved in anything, I would give him amnesty. Those people are scientists who are pulled from their job because of their curiosity, mostly, to do something that they were forced to do. They were forced to sign NDAs, and many of them, I would bet money that when they found out what was going on, they were like, "Oh shit, what did I get myself into?" Right?
Yeah.
Because of all the secrecy. So I can understand that people like them want for this amnesty thing to work, and for like a pardon to get, so they can talk more about this. But the people that were involved in crimes, there's a lot of stories about scientists and whistleblowers and people who wanted to get this out decades ago, that either disappeared or passed away under mysterious circumstances, that I think their families deserve a sort of retribution, you could call it. I'm not going to call it like revenge or anything like that, because I don't think that's proactive. But if you can give like even a some type of compensation to their families,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think jail time to the people that are still alive that were part of those crimes, I would not give amnesty to any of them. Um, Dick Cheney's comes to mind. Henry Kissinger comes to mind. Those dudes, if the concept of heaven and hell exists, they're burning in hell, man. You can be damn sure about that stuff.
Yeah, because they had just had that like huge ceremony for Dick Cheney,
Yeah,
and they were like, oh, and like boys choir singing or whatever it was.
yeah,
I heard about it. I didn't see it, but um, and it's just like when you think like that guy pretty much what was like responsible for a lot of what happened in the Iraq War and
yeah.
all these people dying and our own people dying and uh yeah, dude, it's gross, dude.
And
And
presumably, according to Grush, he was at the very top of the UFO secrecy as well. So um, he's responsible for a lot of the secrecy that goes around when it comes to UFOs. So yeah, I have zero sympathy for somebody like him. And I know that Dan, for example, he wants, like, if there's any sociopath left that has done anything remotely close to what Cheney and Kissinger may have done, um, I just disagree there. I wouldn't give them amnesty at all.
yeah, okay. Yeah, that's I hear you with that. I think I want the truth, man.
Yeah,
It's a very hard question, and I'm
it's a very difficult moral decision
mhm.
when you're asked that, because it's that uh, level of curiosity that is insatiable sometimes. And some people feel like the truth, no matter what. I think that if we lose the sense of humanity and morality when we're making these decisions, we're becoming part of the problem, I think. And honestly, I'm not like I don't want to criticize Dan or anybody who thinks that way.
Oh yeah.
I know that they feel that way, and I respect that, but I just can't. It's difficult for me.
No, dude, I can hear where you're coming from. I think I mean, and that's rad because I'm glad we're talking about this because I told Dan too that I think I would give amnesty, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, just because if like what was it? It was like if it was like 90% of the truth and like full amnesty, I think he posted something like that on Twitter, like 80 to 90% of the truth. And I mean that man, that's a lot of the truth. I mean, yeah, like
Yeah,
you got to protect like sources and methods and all that stuff, but all we
yeah,
want to know is like what the fuck is reality kind of thing. But then for some people, like, you know, this is your just think of like your friends or your closest friends or your mom or your dad or your wife or your husband or whatever, and imagine them being like tortured or killed or something by somebody, and you're going, if I get the truth, they get to walk away free. Like it's like that kind of Like, would you actually do that if it was your own? It's when it's somebody else you don't know, and you're like, yeah, amnesty. It's a little easier to probably for people to throw out there, but ugh,
And it's easy. Just go to the families of those affected and ask them if they want amnesty. See what
yeah,
they tell you.
yeah, dude, that's true. That is true, dude. Speaking of the cartel, you talked about the cartel in Mexico. I was wondering, do you think the cartel? Because I know I've been, um, my brain's all woo. I know that they've been using drones and like really high advanced drones. I've heard about that, and I know the cartel has a lot of money. Do you think the
Yeah.
cartel has any UAP crashes, or the cartel has any stuff like that?
Hard to tell. They've been so hyper focused on just becoming filthy rich and making really strong, potent drugs that can kill people that I don't know. What I
Okay.
do know is that there is a history of witchcraft that is used in cartels.
Okay.
And that I do know. They use different types of warlocks and witches, shamans in Mexico, they call them, to get ahead of their rivals, to get predictions, to get protection of the spiritual kind. I do know that that goes on more regularly than people think.
Yeah.
But when it comes to crashes, both the cartels and the Mexican government are very tight-lipped when it comes to that. So I wouldn't be able to tell you. Um, if I wanted to know about that, I would have to be like infiltrated into their operations, and I don't want to do
No
that.
way. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I just wonder because I know a lot of like private corporations probably do. And I know Tom DeLonge alludes to that in a lot of his
Yeah.
books, and I've heard it from other people. But I was just wondering if if you knew anything about there, had any thoughts on that, about that. Uh, Another thing I wanted to bring up about the age of disclosure to you was um, when they were talking, Jay Stratton and Lou were talking about the higher up saying, this is demonic, this is satanic, and getting the religion thing again.
Yeah.
And then I remember Grush. There's a clip of Grush. I think it was from Jesse Michaels. I posted it on my Instagram, but like Grush is saying, back then in the 30s and 40s, he's like, or 40s and 50s, I think he said, there it was like an older crew that had a belief system that was being rocked at the time when they're figuring all this stuff out, and you know, it was a lot to like their mindset at the time is why they classified this stuff, and now we're kind of having the repercussions of it now. Um, what did you think about that part when they were talking about?
I think that when it comes to rocking your belief system, um, I think there's still a large portion of the US government, both officials and the military and everything, that do have this still very strong Christian nationalist fundamentalist belief that gets in the way of their discernment. And I think that still goes on today. And there's people in really high positions of power that still think this is demonic and angelic also, not just
Yeah,
demonic. I can tell you that from the crowd that deals with UFOs, like the people that we know, that Dr. Jacques Vallée, Dr. Dan Pasolka, um, probably Professor Kreipel, um, they do entertain the idea. They don't necessarily believe it, but they they can get behind that one of those explanations is angels. Um, but I don't know. I think that if when it's all said and done, when we get to know, if we do get to know what's going on, I don't think anybody's gonna have the right answer. I think there's gonna be something in between that is probably the truth, and it's gonna probably rock everybody's beliefs and surprise everybody because even though there is history there, like the Greek gods eventually became the Roman gods, and
hmm
the Roman gods eventually became archangels and angels. But there's like consistency with specific names and specific figures in that lore mythology that if we get to know what's going on, we will probably get to know the core identity of each of those archetypes, I think.
Yeah. And I think Lou said it that back in the day they thought that uh whales were monsters, or like the
Yeah.
giant squid were monsters when you're on the sea or whatever. And now we have them classified as it's a giant squid, or it's a blue whale, or it's a sperm whale, or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, but I mean, but if it's something more advanced than us, then that's a whole nother thing too. Because you're like,
Yeah.
what
I
is
keep
that?
going back to those space whales in Star Wars.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
what if something like that is actually the truth, like,
Yeah.
because some of these UFOs and the orbs and all that, they do kind of behave like they're like a wild animal in some aspects. And I just can't help but think about that. And what if they are some kind of sentience, but they're more animalistic in nature?
Yeah.
That could be the case too. And I remember that movie, Nope, from Jordan Peele. That depicts a UFO, but it's like sort of animalistic in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
Spoiler alert. It's
yeah,
like it's kind of like almost like a stingray, or like a jellyfish, or yeah,
yeah,
jellyfish. No, it's like a mix between or something.
yeah.
But
That can shapeshift and morph into all kinds of things. Yeah,
yeah. And I know Tom DeLonge said this before, but I think he said there's like like the stuff that looks like an amoeba the size of a planet, that like is just floating around in the universe and like eating
that's
stuff.
crazy.
And I was like, if that's real, then like,
That's Galactus right there, bro.
yeah, I was just like, what, dude? That'd be crazy. Yeah, who knows what's going on. I know what time is it? Are we good? Oh, we're about an hour in. Can you go for just a little bit longer? You
About
good?
half an hour is fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
cool.
fine. Yeah, it's cool. Um the Mason stuff, I know you want to talk a little about that, so I didn't want to,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I I have a few friends that are Masons. I know you have friends that are Masons, but uh that stuff too really just changed my perspective on things, because I never really looked into Freemasonry or Templarism or whatever. And when my grandpa died, I found out he was a Mason, and I was like, whoa. And then when my wife Laura's grandpa died, we found out he was a Mason, and they never talked about it. And
yeah,
it's just kind of different, because like when you meet a Christian, or like somebody from a religion or something, they tell you about it, right? You know, and so like it's weird to find out something about that, and it got me curious, and then I became friends with Scott Walter, and then just kind of like started to dive in. So, um, but yeah, that I really would love to talk to Timothy Hogan on here, but I think you talking to Timothy Hogan would be really cool. If anyone doesn't know who he is, he's supposed to be the Grand Master Templar right now of I think it's the Templar Collegia, but he says some crazy stuff, man. And
yeah.
Scott's told me some crazy stuff, and I've told Scott personally, like, uh, you know, I can't believe that's true. I don't know if that's true, but it's some of it's makes sense. But I don't know where I'm going with this, but I just wanted to, I guess, bring the topic up because you wanted to talk about it. So,
Yeah,
but
well, you told me about um certain artifacts that you discuss with them. Um there's always been this lore around artifacts when it comes to secret societies and all that. I don't know if these artifacts have to do with some sort of ancient technology, but that is like kind of the idea that I gathered from the few people that I've spoken to that are part of this. That yeah, there is certain um, artifacts and certain bloodlines too that are very much in tune with the artifacts themselves, and that they have some kind of knowledge about how we as humans operate, of the kind of um abilities that we have, but they're very secretive about it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And also like how you brought up Dan Brown earlier,
Yeah.
like some parts of like the Dan Brown novels they seem to be saying is true as well, like he was onto something. But
Yeah.
bloodlines, especially the Venus, I think it's called the Venus bloodlines. That might be what you're referring to. But for
Yeah.
artifacts, I know Timothy's talked about this a lot, and I'll put it in the links. But if you guys, Timothy Hogan was on Danny Jones, and I think he brought up the arcs on there. I've talked to Scott about this, but the Ark of the Covenant. Everyone always thought it was like, and when you read the Bible, the Ark of the Covenant is just one thing, and what these guys are saying is there were 10 arcs, and there were power sources for like unlimited energy. Um, and when you hear in the Bible, have you ever heard the word manna?
Yeah.
Manna,
Yeah.
yeah, manna would power these things, and um, electricity, static electricity. They would put like uh, two sheep's wool on both sides of it, and it would make this static electricity, and it'd make like unlimited energy. And I think they were saying something like you could put it in the pyramids or something, and it would make this thick, like you put them in certain points of the earth, and it would put like energy, like free energy that would people could take from the earth or whatever. But anyways, I know it sounds crazy, everybody. I'm just telling you this is where these guys are saying, and I'm not saying I believe it, but um, when I used to read the Bible, I mean I still read the Bible, and I'd hear about the Ark of the Covenant, and you think it's like wow, like people touch it and they die. Timothy Hogan is saying that it's because it was generating energy. So if you touch it, you get electrocuted and you die. So it's a little more based in reality than like God killing you or like the angels killing you or whatever. But there's supposed to be 10 of them. Like the Masons are supposed to have six. The Catholic Church is supposed to have three, I think it is. And then one of them is missing. And so that's the claim.
What if the big secret of all of this, like UFOs and all that, is that power source that Dylan Borland describes?
Hmm.
What if it's something related to that? I've always wondered that. And they're just using UFOs to like sort of cover it, but UFOs are still real, but they're not explaining them as they really are, maybe.
Yeah.
I've always thought about that. And when you told me about those 10 arcs, I was surprised. I was like, I never heard that before.
Yeah, man. I never heard it before until meeting these uh meeting Scott and talking to him about everything. But maybe I'll have him back on here and we'll I want to have him back on here and we'll get more into depth about it. He's written books and they did a Scott and Timothy did a show on Gaia just specifically about the Templars because people think that the Templars were disbanded and um, they're saying that they weren't. They just kind of went into hiding and went to like Spain and Scotland and North
Portugal,
America.
Portugal,
And what was that?
Portugal as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. And also there's certain artifacts like the Kensington Rune Stone that I think it was found in Ohio, and there's etchings in it, and if you read them, it's like Templar writing. It's got like the something that Scott has brought about called the hooked X that only the Templars used if you look through history or whatever. But again, people, I don't know if this is real. I'm just telling you these are the claims from these guys, and Scott is my friend, so I'm just relaying what I've found out from him. So
Yep.
don't know if it's real, but it's
But
cool
it's
that
really, really interesting. Yeah.
yeah. And it made me think differently about certain things too, just growing up as a Christian too, just about like them saying too that Jesus was married, Jesus had kids, Jesus ran, he got away, maybe he survived the crucifixion and got away. Certain things like that. But then there's also Ammon Hillman, which me and you've talked about that he says some crazy stuff too. But
Crazy is an understatement, bro. What the
I,
hell?
I would love to talk to that guy though, dude. Like just
Yeah.
uh
I've heard really wild stuff about him, like that he's like possessed by
oh
some,
yeah.
and he laughs. He's like, imagine what these guys are saying. Like, but I don't know. I keep I think about the many different parchments and pieces of writing throughout history that have dealt with ancient pharmacology,
Hmm.
um, especially combinations. Because when I was in my decade-long trip with psychedelics,
Yeah.
I combined a bunch of different things, and the majority of my psi abilities experiences were happening when I was combining stuff.
Whoa.
So what I think about is that there was probably a lot of knowledge about combination of substances that for the Catholic churches and for the any other religion that was against that, it didn't fall on their agenda. So they went out of their way to just erase that part of history. And if you think about places, for example, like the Library of Alexandria,
Hmm.
uh, imagine what type of pharmacology knowledge probably was there that was burned to the ground. And I mean, it can be rediscovered because that's how science works.
Hmm.
But I don't, well, there's been a lot of stigma associated to substance use since like ancient times. Like, if you did any type of substance or psychedelic back then, you were deemed either a witch or a sorcerer. And if you were in the times of the Holy Inquisition, you would have probably
Yeah.
passed away. They were probably gone after you and killed you.
Yeah.
And in today's climate, since the 60s, also there's a lot of stigmatization of substances, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's probably by design,
Hmm.
from the systems of control that are currently underway.
I agree with you, man. I mean, especially like how many people are on prescription pills right now too, and
Yeah.
certain things. But like, if the plant form or the fungal form was actually safer or healthier and would actually do better for you, but it's
Or not
illegal.
addictive like many of those prescription drugs are. Yeah.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of people's lives every year. I don't know how
Yeah.
many, but um totally, dude. And yeah, that when kind of the Roman Catholic Church came to be, that was one of the first things to go. I think I
Yeah.
was telling you too, I just learned in that book, The Immortality Key, that in it was 186 BCE that they went around killing all the priestesses and stuff that
Yeah.
were, initiating people and still using like psychedelics and things like that to initiate people. Um, it's wild, man.
Yeah.
It's a wild,
Yeah.
it's a wild thing.
And when I was in college and I was on this journey, I got a little famous because of that. And when we went cutting shrooms during shroom season back there, um, people wanted to for me to go with them because they wanted for me to guide their trip because they felt safe with
Yeah.
me, the knowledge that I had, and guiding them. And I I, I took that very seriously, like because it's a really important part of the uh, road to gnosis,
Hmm.
is what I would call. And um, there were a few times when it didn't go that well for a number of people that were alongside the whole crew, but for the most part, it was positive experiences.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
happy to report.
Well, dude, yeah, I know you have a family member that's kind of is a shaman, or
Yes, she
yeah,
she she runs medicine based rituals with different types of substances like ayahuasca and mushrooms and other types. And she's in the state of Nayarit, and she brings shamans from all over the world. She's brought people
Wow.
from Europe, from South America, depending on what specialty they have. If it's ayahuasca, for example, she brings people from Brazil and Peru, and they go there with her and they run these rituals of healing. That's what they call them. So yeah, there is a shaman in my family. There's a couple from her family who do this stuff.
Well, people asking to do it with you, like you were kind of, I mean, almost like
Yeah,
following in that, you know,
yeah.
a
You
little
could
bit,
more like
a
an
guide.
version of that. Like
Or yeah, yeah, urban version. Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool though, dude. I've done mushrooms twice and it wasn't big. Like I haven't done like a hero's dose or anything, but and this is how I recommend doing it. And people like I'm not saying do it, but if you do it, the way I did it was I set, an intention. I set a time, turned off the lights. I mean, I had a little light, like I have salt lamps, but I had a notebook and I just kind of like documented my journey, what I was thinking, how I was feeling, kind of thing. And it was cool, you
Yeah,
know?
there's nothing more rewarding than um, having this feeling that you don't know where you are, you don't know what you are, that you sort of feel like maybe you're not coming back. And it humbles you to a degree that when you do come back, you feel an immense sense of gratitude for being back, for having your consciousness back to normal. But it doesn't come back uh, exactly as it was. Something fundamentally changes in your psyche when you go through that process of completely losing your mind and then coming back. And I think that's we go back to those ego deaths that I was telling you about. That's what
Yeah.
it's like. Um, the feeling that you're like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't know what I am. I don't know. I'm just a fucking vegetable here, and I'm just gonna stay here, hoping that I come back.
Yeah.
um, and I think everybody should go through that, even though it's traumatic. I think everybody should.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what Jesus was talking about too when it's like be born again.
Yeah,
And it's probably an
yeah,
ego death and then probably through psychedelics. Again, everyone read their Immortality Key. But
yeah,
but yeah, like, just finding out like, it's not about me, it's about us.
yeah,
It's we're all here and maybe consciousness is this big blob of just love and creativity and stuff, and it beams into our little brains of these like little meat suits down here, and hopefully we choose to like be good to each other and create cool shit,
yeah, yeah.
hopefully.
You're very much in tune with it because you're a musician. So
Yeah,
you know what that's like.
dude, sometimes I feel like I'm not writing the songs or the
Yeah,
stuff I
yeah,
write. Like it just I was like, all right, tell me. And people my whole life were like, you gotta smoke weed, dude. And I was like, no, no, And then
yeah.
I started smoking weed in when I turned 21 or 22. And then I was like, oh, I get it. Yeah, but it's the same thing for me. I have to set an intention. I don't just do it
Yeah,
to like do it. I have to set an intention and then yeah, it's like it helps open that window. And to me, it looks like a colorful river that's just going. And then what I do is I jump in and I'm floating for a while, like if you're on a floating device, and I'm like, whoa, okay, catch it, catch it, catch it, and then I get off, and that's what it feels like,
that's
So
fun.
yeah, man.
Imagine that dude, Harry Mack. You know who that is?
Harry Mack?
Yeah,
No,
he's like this freestyler who like does freestyle with keywords when he's talking to people. He does it on Omegle and he does it in public. That
cool.
dude has like a stream of consciousness when he's rapping. He's creating the bars. It's like, where do you get that shit from? That's
Yeah,
wild.
dude. Or even like when you were talking about Stephen King or like like so like all the books and stories that guy's written are just
Yeah.
I mean so many artists around the world, but just
Yeah.
you know, but I definitely like, the ego in you wants to take credit, but like I've kind of always just talked to my friends and family about this, but it just feels like just coming from somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm just trying to catch it and write it down. So
Now they call them downloads.
yeah. Timothy Taylor talks about that too. Dude, didn't Timothy Taylor, or what do they call him? What she call him in
The hammer. No?
or he says that there
Tyler.
was Tyler.
Yeah,
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 there
Tyler.
was there was some, I think there was something in, was it American Cosmic where there was a room that was like cemented off and he didn't know what that room was, but like he would feel stuff downloading from that room or something. There's something weird like that. I don't know. I can't
Isn't
remember.
it like the jump room they call it?
I can't remember. That's why. Sorry, don't quote me on that, everybody. But I thought that was it. But whatever. Well, cool, dude. I mean, this was cool talking to you. I could let you go. We got to check out Jeremy Corbell just put out something. We got to check out.
Yeah,
You
we
just
gotta
put
check
out
that out.
a recap on Chris Mellon's calling out the Air Force.
Oh yeah,
So
that was big.
that was
That was
pretty
big.
big too.
Yeah.
But dude, I could talk to you for like hours, but it's
Yeah, dude.
good to
Let's
cut
do
it
it
off
again.
here. Please, let's do it again.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I know you told me about the breweries in Tijuana. I got to go check them out.
Come on
So,
over.
yeah,
I'll
man.
take you to the best ones.
Dude, that would be cool.
I'll show you a
We
good
should do.
time.
Yeah, dude. Well, tell your wife we said hello. Give your dog a pet for us.
I
Ripley
will.
says hi. Laura says hi.
Say hi to both of them for me, please.
This was rad, man.
Yeah, man, I loved it.
Yeah. Well, cheers, Pavel.
All right, dude. Thank you for having me. Fucking cheers.
Yeah.
And keep having a great week, yeah?
Yeah, dude. And I told Dan this. Thank you for getting me out of my cave because I haven't done one of these in forever. So,
Awesome. Hopefully you can keep doing them.
yeah, I think
Um,
I'll try. I mean,
you
Scott
you got
Wolter
this.
next.
You got this, bro. You got
Thank
this.
you.